1890s, there was a lot of conflict in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland because of religious differences. So this map was created because of the war, and conflict is happening in the 1990s because of this war. So this war is impacting us decades and decades later. So, and then to go on, the other key slide, obviously, the causes of World War I, you can think of this as the acronym MANIA. So a lot of people think that World War I was just started because only of the assassination of Archduke Francis Ferdinand. But it's really because of all of these other kind of factors were creating tension, like imperialism, the right of my country to take over your country, nationalism, my country is better than your country, and then alliances. So the European powers formed all these alliances to protect themselves. So they said, hey, a war isn't going on, but if a war went on, let's protect each other. And then militarism. So a war isn't happening, but let's build up our army just in case a war happens. So those kind of things really created this environment just kind of for something to happen really, really easily. So then also we're going to look at some just visual examples of the mania causes of World War I. So obviously the first one is militarism. Like I said, before the war, a lot of countries in Europe had big standing armies. You can see that with the Army Recruiting Office. And I think this political cartoon really kind of shows the tense kind of air in Europe before World War I. So France has like the big guns, Germany has a big sword, so they all have these weapons, they have these huge armies, and they're kind of all waiting for each other of who's going to make the first move, who's going to cause that domino effect. So that's kind of the idea of militarism, that I should have a great army just in case I need to protect myself. And then also the alliance. So in wars, we all want to know, okay, is it who versus who? So it is the Triple Alliance versus the Triple Entente. So in 1882, Austria-Hungary, Germany, and Italy formed the Triple Alliance. They promised to defend each other if either were attacked. And then we have the Triple Entente, which is the other big alliance of World War I, which is Britain, France, and Russia. And in 1904, France, Russia, and Britain formed the Triple Entente. They did not promise to help each other, but they encircled Germany and Austria-Hungary. Why did they encircle Germany and Austria-Hungary? We're going to get to that in just a second. Okay, so then we have this idea of nationalism, that my country is the best country compared to everybody else. And actually, nationalism is a relatively new idea in Europe and in the world at this time. So if you look at this poster, this is a British poster that says, "The Empire needs men, all answer the call, helped by the young lions, the old lion defies its foes." So Britain had a ton of nationalism. Why did they think they were the best? Well, because at one time, Britain owned almost a quarter of the world. 25% of the world was under British control. And right before World War I, British had had a century of prosperity, of just conquest. So of course they think that they're the best. They obviously own the most land. But also, Britain and all the old powers of Europe were worried because, as you can see with these posters, Germany had just become unified in the 1880s. And all of the old powers were worried because they're like, this is this huge superpower that wants power and wants land, and we don't want to share any of it. So when two countries think that they are both the best, what is going to happen? And then we have imperialism. And like I said, imperialism is the idea that my country has the right to own you, that I am better than you. And like I said, during this time, a lot of people kind of look toward Africa. It's like, we want to control Africa, we want to own Africa. As you can see with this picture, it is a depiction of British imperialism in Africa, where Britain is literally stretching over Africa to basically control and own all of Africa. And all of the European countries wanted a piece of Africa, and they didn't want to share. As you can see with this picture of imperial rivalry. So this is a British cartoon ridiculing Belgian rule in Africa. So when one country would get control of a piece of Africa, other countries obviously wouldn't like it. So when everybody wants the same thing, there's obviously going to be tensions. And then the final point of the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which really was the catalyst for this whole event because of the web of the alliances, because of imperialism, because of militarism. So here's an artist's depiction of what happened, and then here's an actual picture of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife. So that is the kind of PowerPoint, the key points of it. So we're done with that. And then so now I will take your questions that you have over it. So the first question we have is, why were airplanes important in World War I? That is a very good question. I will find it within the PowerPoint. It was towards the end. There was kind of some pictures of aircraft used in World War I, but there really wasn't a whole lot of information about them. So I will give you some more. So let me write down that question really quick. understand is that World War I is the first major conflict in which airplanes are used, because the airplane was first invented in 1903, and like I said, the war started in 1914. So that really isn't a whole lot of time between when the airplane was invented and when it was being used in warfare. And also the airplane dramatically changed the way we fought wars. And so there's this key piece of technology coming in. So airplanes were important because of reconnaissance. And if you don't know what reconnaissance is reconnaissance is when an airplane flies over the battlefield. Don't know if I spelled that right, but you get the idea. So reconnaissance is when they were flying over the trenches and trying to see where they were moving, if they were building new trenches, if they were moving to another trench. Because remember, World War I is all about trench warfare. There aren't two armies meeting each other. It's we're going to build this trench and we're stuck in one place and nobody is moving. So reconnaissance. And then also used for bombing. So bombings of also trenches and also of civilian towns. That is a key characteristic of World War I and in World War II. In World War II, entire major cities will be destroyed in one night because of bombings. And we first see that in World War I with those bombings. And then also machine guns. So they would place machine guns on the top of planes. And machine guns were also a new technology that was kind of first created and used in World War I. So there's the merging of two new technologies, and then also dogfights. So if you don't know what a dogfight is when two airplanes are fighting and one is trying to knock the other out of the sky. So why were airplanes important? They have reconnaissance. They are looking at the trenches, gathering information. They have bombings, machine guns, and dogfights. So great question. I'm going to erase that, and we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, so the second question we have is, what are the Balkans? Okay, great question. I'm going to find that in the slide. The Balkans are really key in the area of nationalism and understanding nationalism. And like I said, nationalism is the idea that my country is better than your country, and my country is the best. So, what Balkans. Okay, so the Balkans is in Europe. It is in southeastern Europe, and it is composed of Austria-Hungary. Remember we talked about Austria-Hungary? That was the country that was broken up after World War I. Austria-Hungary, and then we have Romania and Serbia. So these aren't all of the countries that are in the Balkans. This is just kind of an idea. And then over here we have the Ottoman Empire. And why am I drawing the Ottoman Empire? I'll get to that in a second. So, the Ottoman Empire ruled over the small countries in the Balkans for over about 400 years. And the small countries in the Balkans didn't like that. Why did they not like that? Because the Ottoman Empire was a majority Muslim empire, and a lot of the small countries in the Balkans were Christian. So they didn't really like that a person far away of a different religion was ruling over them. So this created tensions for about 400 years. And the reason why the Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated is because there was this movement in Serbia saying that Serbia should be a free country, it should not be ruled by the Ottoman Empire. So that is why the Balkans are important and what the Balkans are. So now that I took all of your questions, we are going to be doing the exit ticket. The exit tickets. Remember, I shared these slides with you. So if you just click on the link, it's going to say, what did I already know? What is something that I learned today? And what do I want to know more about? So like I said, you can record yourself saying these questions. You can draw the questions out, or you can caption, or you can write these questions out. So that is all for today. Thank you.